They say the meek shall inherit the earth, but no one ever consulted the black rhino. This is no quaint safari. No serene nature documentary where the herbivores politely chew their cud. This is an experiment in extreme conservation. A collision of good intentions and deeply, deeply flawed geometry. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rhino Roller Derby. Out here, on the edge of nowhere, sprawls what was once optimistically called the sanctuary. Now, it's just the box. A vast, meticulously fenced-in prairie, large enough to save a species, perhaps, but far, far too small to save them from each other. The black rhino, a creature of magnificent solitude, prefers the company of, well, no one. They are the great loners of the savanna, the world's most heavily armored introverts. Their territories are massive, inviolable spheres of personal space, and the equation here is chillingly simple. 500 rhinos, 1 prairie, and about 90% less territory than their colossal egos demand. Imagine stuffing 500 teenagers into a walk-in closet with only enough pizza for 50. It's not a question of if the drama will start. It's a question of when, and with what kind of terrifying kinetic energy. The air itself feels thick with impending impact, a low-frequency hum of territorial rage yet to boil over. The enclosures are a masterpiece of logistical failure. We've replaced the threat of the poacher's rifle with the suffocating pressure of proximity. Every blade of grass, every shadow of a resting spot, every sip of muddy water becomes a precious, contested commodity. They are running on a conservation clock that is ticking down to zero, not because of external threats, but because the brilliant minds who designed this derby simply miscalculated the required elbow room. They forgot the fundamental law of the rhino: you shall not trespass. For now, they graze. They eye one another across impossible distances. Their massive heads lowered, their prehistoric horns glinting under a bruised late afternoon sky. But look closely. In the twitch of an ear, the defiant kick of a back leg, you can see the suspense building. They are poised, loaded, like 500 heavily armored bumper cars waiting for the starter's pistol. And when that first, fateful territorial infringement occurs, chaos will have a number. And that number will be 500. The pioneers of this bizarre conservation project dubbed it density management. We're calling it Rhino Roulette. The first sign that the game was truly afoot wasn't a roar or a charge, but a silence, an unnatural, profound quiet that fell over the box one Tuesday morning. Surveillance footage, grainy and distorted by heat haze, captured the moment. 2 great bulls, named simply 50 and 51, because honestly, who was going to give 500 rhinos proper names, had found the same perfect wallow. It wasn't the mud they coveted. It was the principle, the sheer audacity of sharing. They circled, slow and deliberate, to enormous, obsidian shadows. The tension was so thick, you could practically see the air warp. The smaller animals, the timid gazelles and nervous antelopes had already vanished, leaving the stage clear for the main event. It was like watching 2 tanks play a deadly slow-motion game of chicken. You almost wanted to shout, "Just give him the mud, man." And then, the first contact. Not a glancing blow, but an absolute, unholy collision of 6 tons of pure, territorial fury. The ground shook. Dust rose in a suffocating, orange cloud a shroud for the violence that followed. This wasn't a fight for dominance, it was a fight for space, and in the box, space is the only currency that matters. The incident was quickly contained, a bloody, confusing mess that the caretakers here are desperate to call an isolated event, but we know better. Isolation is what the black rhino craves, and isolation is precisely what this place denies them. The domino effect has been triggered. Every scrape, every injury, every broken horn is a message echoing across the prairie. The territory lines have been drawn in blood. The Rhino Roller Derby is still in its opening laps. 500 ticking time bombs, each encased in thick, ancient hide, confined to a space that shrinks in significance with every dawn. The irony, of course, is delicious. We built this massive enclosure to save them from humanity's greed, but in doing so, we unleashed the most dangerous predator they will ever face, their own inherent nature. They are not endangered because they are weak. They are endangered because they are magnificent, solitary, and utterly uncompromising. Look out over the prairie now. It looks serene, peaceful, but listen closely to the wind. That isn't just the rustle of dry grass. That is the sound of 500 rhinos, counting their personal steps, calculating their odds, and waiting for the sun to set. We came here to witness conservation. We stayed to watch the ultimate cage match. Welcome to the sanctuary. The gates are locked, and the show has just begun. The enclosure is built. The experiment is running. But the question remains, did the designers truly try to save them, or did they just sign the rhino's final, claustrophobic death warrant? Don't just watch this carnage unfold. Tell me what you think. Scroll down and sound off in the comments. Is the Rhino Roller Derby a necessary evil, or an unforgivable ethical disaster? We're reading every response.